Welcome back to What Was That, where I think this was a regular What Was That week, not like a What Was That, because we are getting used to the chaos. That is the word. Hi Nitesh, are we getting used to the chaos?
I don't know. Were you inadvertently added to any group chats this week?
I didn't start any wars.
But did you witness any in real time?
Oh God. These guys just seem like frat bros who have no clue what they're doing. Like frat bros who are like, oh, let me kill 50 people. White House is tweeting out, we will find you and we will kill you. This is an official White House tweet. What is going on in this world, Nitesh? Tell us in one sentence what is going on and how to solve these issues.
In one sentence.
One
You want me to both tell you what's going on and how to solve
One each. One each.
Right, yeah, that makes more likely. Yeah, more realistic. What is going on? More of the same. No? I have thoughts and I'm sure we'll get to them because I was thinking no harm in talking a little bit about American politics, no? Seeing as how it more and more affects business, tech, and economy.
I get a lot of political news from tech podcasts and tech websites now. 404 Media, The Verge. Funnily enough, because the general news sites seem to be like still stuck in some era where no, this is not real, this is not happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go for it. We don't know anything. Like again, disclaimer: we don't know anything about anything, especially about geopolitics. So disregard what we're saying and don't buy any stocks based on our geopolitics discussions. Don't buy any stocks based on anything we say. Don't buy any stocks.
Yeah. No, I will not say don't buy any stocks. That's also investing advice. But yeah, let's just try and refrain from talking about Indian politics because I don't want any venues being broken up.
I like my room.
I quite like this room as well. So keeping that in mind, I think thoda sa let's deliberately cross that little line once. With that, my first story of the week is tariffs, is auto tariffs of 25% that the US has levied across the spectrum. It doesn't matter if you're an American brand who is making automobiles in Mexico or in Canada, because once upon a time, North America was seen as one big market. There's something called NAFTA, but no, there are now tariffs unless you're making the whole car from scratch. We have discussed the nuances of assembly and components when we spoke about Volkswagen. No, this is straight. Either you're making the car here, in which case you will not pay these duties, or you're not, in which case you will. That's it. So, no, fuck your supply chain complexities, fuck your billions of dollars of investments. Doesn't matter. Either you're going to make in America or go fuck yourself.
Make in America or go fuck yourself. Slightly more stark slogan than Make in India, I would see.
Yeah, because
I was going to escape containment. I was going to put this podcast out on my LinkedIn this week. I'm just wondering, I don't think people on LinkedIn ever use bad language. They don't even know these words.
yeah, I'm sure they're completely unfamiliar with this part of the English language. And okay, so this is going to be a bit of a reach. Tell me if I lose you somewhere along the way. Have you seen that viral reel of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, but in German? It's just a clip.
Yes.
And you know that it's familiar, but in a different language. So it gives that little bit of dissonance, but you still know what they're saying, even though you don't speak Deutsche, but still you know what they're saying, right? From the past 2 months, I keep getting that sense of deja vu whenever I read any American news because it is just masterstroke after masterstroke after masterstroke. Just make an announcement and we just roll the dice and see where things land, and grand announcements followed by the equivalent of a gazette notification. No, see, when we meant this, we had this exception. We weren't talking about this particular thing because of course this is not covered under what we were saying there, but your original statement was as wide as possible because the whole idea was to grab headlines, right? To make big moves. and you make that big move, and then you backtrack a little bit basis what special interest groups got to you. And I'm like, I have been watching this movie for the last 20 years. I know exactly how this works.
But the best take I saw on these executive orders that Trump is signing
Mm-hmm.
is that essentially he seems to have realized that tweets don't get as much media coverage anymore as
Mm-hmm.
executive orders do. So his executive orders are just tweets in longer form and they just grab
Correct.
over the news cycle, which is great, which is exactly on the headlines at all times.
Hmm. This is a
Yes, that now Mr. Trump has also said that he's asked automakers not to increase prices after tariffs. Asked being asked, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
asked. I would put my air quotes inside the camera. So, which is funny. These are the free speech, free business can run everything. We don't need
Yeah.
government telling business do not raise prices. Price controls are back, baby, and they are so libertarian. Price controls are the most libertarian thing ever, apparently.
That's the standard tech bro playbook. No? Your free market, so long as you have unfettered access to new markets. The moment the free market turns against you, you suddenly turn protectionist. That's how it works. Say it.
I'm
But
like the free speech absolutist, free speech warrior is like free speech so long as I like it.
yeah, as
Otherwise,
long as
how can you protest against my cars?
correct.
See, we mentioned we got to the billionaire. It is, we are about how many minutes in?
2, 3, no, 7. Not bad.
7. Oh, wow.
Not bad.
Yeah, and we got to the billionaire. 7 minutes is long enough.
So now it's difficult to relocate automobile factories or fettle with supply chains. You know, these things have months, if not years, of lead time. If you want to make changes like that, in saying that we're going to do 100% localization of any product, really,
Yeah.
but especially one as complex as an automobile, which has tens of thousands of parts. So it got me thinking, for the first time in at least my memory, we are ahead of the curve. I mean India, we are ahead of the curve because businessmen and entrepreneurs here all their life have known that I could get up tomorrow morning and there could be a newspaper headline that decimates my business. It's possible. It's entirely possible that some babu somewhere or some politician or some minister or somebody had a bad day or had an exceptionally good day, and that's just that for me. That's why despite the internet, despite everything, we still believe in astrology, right? That's why astrotalk does so well, because it's all karma. This is not in our hands, and nobody is more spiritual and superstitious than an Indian businessman. The reason so much of capital was flowing towards the US from around the world is because the US markets offered stability and certainty. Businesses went bankrupt all the time, even there. It wasn't necessarily a friendly for business environment. Of course, that is there, but more than that, it was predictability that attracted businesses towards the US, both as a market and as a domicile and whatever. And we have, by we, I mean Indian businessmen and entrepreneurs, we have never experienced that at any scale. There are things that can set off a weird cycle of events, a chain of events, and you could get fucked tomorrow morning. हो सकता है. And it's very refreshing to see that in our lifetime, the shoe is on the other foot, to borrow that American expression. And now American businesses, big and small, have to live with it. You know, open the newspaper every morning or open your news feed on your phone every morning with a sense of dread. Yeah, I have lived that for 20 years. I have lived that. I know what that's like. So, which brings me to my concluding argument here, which is again, this is now straight up political advice for the GOP, the Republican Party. You guys are over reliant on Fox News. What you need to do is set up a proper IT cell. You know, have your network of WhatsApp groups, be able to disseminate information the way you see it, your reality. And I'm not judging, okay? This is a business opportunity. What we should do, Vineet, you and I, is we should tie up with one of the many Chanakyas of India, you know, the wonderful political strategists that we have. We should open a GCC in Bangalore a global capability center for running an outsourced IT cell for the GOP in the US. It's a fantastic business opportunity. I really think the GOP can learn something from all the parties here. I'm not talking about any one party. Everybody here in India has an IT cell. We have taken the game forward, right? So, yes, the Americans have perfected political funding. That funnel, they have perfected it. The money flows from corporates to political parties seamlessly, and they are the best in the world at it. All right. They have also perfected lobbying because they've institutionalized it.
Yep.
That's also great. Where they are lacking is ops, not OPSEC, which is a whole other thing,
OPSEC is clean.
but ops. You need boots on the ground. You need that grassroots network where you can disseminate information. So please
Sum up that story. Should we sum up that OPSEC is clean thing at least for the audience, if they might not be as terminally online as we both obviously are. 30-second summary for the audience, straight into the camera. A reporter, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, was inadvertently or advertently added to a signal group, which included a bunch of very, very senior, everyone senior in the Trump administration, except for Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk. And they were discussing how to attack the Houthis in Yemen based on one guy going to visit his girlfriend, and they leveled the whole building down. And there is a lot of outrage in the US, not because they leveled an entire building and killed 53 people because of one guy going into his girlfriend's apartment. The outrage is they were discussing this on an unsecure, not insecure. So that's not. It was not a teenager. Unsecure with the Yeah. The funniest part for me was at one point, and this I should remember, I think it was Mike Waltz who said, once they've discussed when they were even talking at what point what fighter jet will go do what and attack what, right? And once this has all happened, one guy says, on OPSEC, we are clean. While having a journalist in the room that they have no clue about, in a chat room with 16 people. I'm back.
No, you missed out the emojis.
I missed out the emojis. Their version of live, laugh, love. There was a fire emoji. There was a rocket emoji, I think. There was an American flag. There was a fist. Yeah, there was a fist. There was a fire emoji, and there was an American flag. Eat, pray, love, live, laugh, love, whatever their version of that is. So, yeah. While 53 people are murdered for no reason. Nobody's even claiming that those 53 people had anything to do with anything. Which is why I say these are act bros who have taken Call of Duty, except with the real $1 trillion budgets.
But I will say there is at least a test market for setting up a GCC in Bangalore. What's your first story of the week?
My first story is OpenAI has escaped containment. It has gone from being, like we've discussed before, it was sort of stuck in the browser. It is stuck in the browser. Like, there are, of course, APIs. ChatGPT works through, like, we use a lot of ChatGPT APIs in our business, right? But for the most part, on the consumer side, it never really took off. People were using it to write emails. People were using it to write LinkedIn posts. People were using it to write reports, but essentially business stuff, right? And we've discussed before, there's no real consumer application that has taken off. So why would people pay $20 for it? Businesses are paying for it, or is that really a big enough business when you're spending like some $10 billion a year or some outside figure? It found its first viral consumer application this week through massive copyright theft of Studio Ghibli. Everyone suddenly is uploading their own photos. That's how it started. People started uploading their photos and like, give me a Studio Ghibli version. And the nice, happy, clean looking, and Studio Ghibli is very, very popular. Yeah, so suddenly there is at least one viral moment for OpenAI going B2C. A few more thoughts on that is, one is effectively, this is an Instagram filter, or as Instagram filters originally used to be known before they stole them, Snapchat filters. It is essentially Snapchat filters. Here's take my photo, make my face look like a Studio Ghibli character. Would people pay $20 for that? I don't know. Probably not. Second is they've already shut it off for free users now. Sam Altman tweeted, our GPUs are burning or overheating or something like that. Apparently, each of these images uses as much power as charging your phone from 0% to 100%. The Snapchat filters never destroyed the world this much, I believe. That is two. Third is, where did the data set come from? How did they train? Obviously, on Studio Ghibli movies.
Right.
These companies are effectively, they have said, they've argued that we need to be able to do copyright theft. Otherwise, our model is not sustainable. Finally, this is a man, Mr. Miyazaki, the founder, the chairman of Studio Ghibli. He's very, very famously anti-AI. There is this video of him in 2016, which was early version AI, some auto animation sort of software. He said that he viewed the technology used in the presentation as an insult to life itself. He said there is no humanity in this. He said this technology shows that humans have lost faith in themselves. And just the fact, and like, these movies are beautiful and they are made over years and years. There is a lot of human effort that goes into this every scene. Right. And to turn that into AI slop, people are saying, oh, we can make art. Art has been democratized. Art has not been democratized. This is not art. This is a filter. If I am saying, okay, here is my photo, turn this into a Studio Ghibli version, that's not art in any way. Art is someone expressing themselves in a unique way. And to do this to this man who is anti-AI just seems wrong. It just, like, at some point, yes, they can do it. They have done it. But at some point, do you bother to respect the artist? Yeah, I would still like to believe, yes, you should.
But yes, it is particularly cruel that Studio Ghibli of all things went viral. This on monetization, this is a meme, right? And memes have very, very short half-lives. I mean, it's entered the cultural lexicon, and 10 years from now, somebody will have the perfect place to put the Studio Ghibli meme generated out of it. And all the people who remember this moment now will feel wonderful and nostalgic and, aha, I get that. But memes themselves have very short half-lives. This can't be a sustainable business model for ChatGPT. That's just not going to happen. Think about it, no? There are so many meme generators, meme generating websites online. They're all ad supported. Nobody is going to pay even $10, 10 Indian rupees to generate a meme, to put some text on Come Back Steve or any of those images. Nobody's going to pay for that. It's fun.
I used a meme generator, Pawan Aging Masa. Here. The 3 times in my life, like, there is that watermark in the corner.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So, yeah, I'm not going to stay with that.
All right, fun. It probably got a lot of people to use ChatGPT for the first time. So good for customer acquisition. But who at this point is part of the target demographic and hasn't heard of ChatGPT?
Who is the target demographic? Who is the target?
If you're saying that this is for internet users in general, people who are online, people who use, everyone's heard of ChatGPT, right? Everyone knows about AI. So you can't even make this is getting us eyeballs argument. You have all the eyeballs you need. I don't see it. Good for them. Sad for the GPUs that burnt out, but all right. Just a blip on the radar, It's still, AI is still a solution in search of a problem.
And the funny part is they are losing money on every user who is paying them $200 a month. They are losing money on every user who pays them $20 a month. They are obviously losing a lot of money on every free user. Microsoft, as we discussed before, seems to be getting cold feet on data center investments. There is this company called CoreWeave, which I think I will discuss next week. That's
They just IPO'd, right?
They just IPO'd. I think let me check what they finally launched at.
Yeah, IPO'd last night, Friday.
Muted Nasdaq debut. What price? Oh, it closed flat. So this is the first big AI IPO from a company that is powering a lot, that owns a lot of these GPUs being used, and they opened completely flat. Yeah, and Microsoft is pulling back on its investments. Microsoft and OpenAI seem to be having issues. The Wall Street Journal has reported that SoftBank has to prop up OpenAI now. SoftBank had committed a lot of investment. But as of today morning, so last night US time, Wall Street Journal reports that SoftBank has now put a condition that OpenAI will need to go for profit. They are a not-for-profit status right now. They need to go for profit by this October to get the money. They had committed $40 billion, but only 10 of that seems to exist right now. SoftBank needs to raise money. So there's this whole loop. SoftBank needs to raise money to give to OpenAI, which will then pay CoreWeave. Microsoft, in the meanwhile, is pulling out. OpenAI is on track to burn something like $10 billion this year. Nobody knows where this money is coming from, and they probably just burnt a lot more last night or this week on Studio Ghibli memes from people who aren't paying for it. Financial engineering at its best.
CoreWeave's IPO was, it's fascinating. I just glanced through the S1. Not investing advice, obviously. Their whole business model is that we have a connect with NVIDIA. And so we have GPUs and we are going to set up data centers. And
NVIDIA owns 5%, right? Or something like that, I think.
yeah, it's a very incestuous relationship. Microsoft is by far their largest customer. NVIDIA owns a significant or a large single digit share in the company. NVIDIA is also the primary supplier of the GPUs, and NVIDIA is also a customer.
Wait, how is NVIDIA? Is NVIDIA also offering GPUs as a service? How? They make the GPU, right? How
Yeah,
are
they're using the service.
well, yeah, for their own development, maybe. Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
I don't-
So quite incestuous. Really weird. I don't know. I couldn't wrap my head around it.
I
And
think I'm going to study CoreWeave more this week and do a longer story next week on that.
read the S1, no? Spare me for once. All right. Story two.
Yes.
This is from Bloomberg. Both Warren Buffett and Ka-shing, who is a Hong Kong billionaire, are currently sitting on massive cash piles. We've spoken about Buffett before, and there's generally more awareness about who he is and his style and his values and all of that. So let's talk a little bit more about Ka-shing. Ka-shing is he started by manufacturing artificial plastic flowers. That was his first business in like the 50s and 60s back then. And he was at the cutting edge of injection molding and combining dyes to get the exact right color so that an artificial flower looks natural. Really cool stuff. Pivoted from there to basically being one of the developers who built Hong Kong, who built the massive buildings that we see there, and segued from that to becoming just like an excellent investor all around. He's the reason Star came to India. He's the reason we had ZTV, because he founded Star, the Star Network, which was South. Wait, this is actually pretty cool. Let me look.
What is the name then?
You're going to have to edit this as well, but it's really, really cool. Star Network.
By the way, just for the audience, I edit out any part that makes it look like we are researching something, right? Because we know everything.
Or that we are generally clueless.
No, we know everything. We know everything, but don't ever listen to us.
No, I can't look it up. My Googling skills have gone for a toss.
Google has gone for a toss.
Yeah, the first with the do with AI. For some reason, it keeps showing me results in Hindi. I don't know why. But I use incognito.
Please have all our data, but they can't remember what language we want to read.
It's the weirdest thing. I'm a vegetarian, right? And I intend to remain that way. And yet on YouTube, by far, the ad that I'm shown the most is for Licious. What do I do with that?
Maybe Licious has already reached all its audience and now they're trying to expand the market.
Maybe YouTube knows something about me that I don't.
They're going to have to cover lunch today. They know that about you.
So anyway, Lika Singh, all round cool guy. He's the reason we had Star in India. He's the one who gave Subhash Chandra a break and allowed him to launch Z in India. And he's the reason we had Hutch and the Hutch Pug. So Hutchison Whampoa is actually the name of his company, his erstwhile company. Man has got investments and assets all over the place. He has been gradually, because these guys are the equivalent of aircraft carriers now. They can't just turn around on a dime. He's been gradually divesting and moving to cash. Both Buffett and Lee Ka-shing have moved to a substantial cash position, which is unusual for them. Again, Lee Ka-shing has specific political tripwires that he needs to be mindful of. He just sold, his company just sold two ports in the Panama Canal, which Trump is after, and which Trump touted as a win, that, we got this important port out of Chinese ownership, because now it's been taken over by a BlackRock led consortium. And funnily enough, Lee Ka-shing has routinely been bashed in Chinese media for being anti-Chinese. So, the man is doing his job well when both sides hate him.
I don't buy that argument. No, I've seen it so much online. I must be doing something right. The left also hates me. The right also hates me. Maybe.
No, it isn't that. It's that depending on the specifics of each deal,
I don't know.
he's been comfortable aligning whichever way was best for his business and his shareholders. That's probably closer to what I was trying to imply. Although yes, my phrasing was lazy. I'll give you that. But it's
No
it's
reaction.
fascinating between these two guys, and they've gotten it wrong plenty of times. Warren Buffett famously entered and exited airline stocks at the wrong time around COVID, and I'm sure Mr. Singh has also made plenty of mistakes. But it's an interesting confluence of events between this, gold being at all-time highs, which is generally seen as an inflation hedge, and safe haven. So when smart money isn't sure where to go, they tend to move to US treasuries and gold. Now US treasuries are having a bit of a moment of their own, so that leaves gold. And obviously I'm oversimplifying, that's not the only reason for the gold rally, but it's certainly up there. It's one of the reasons.
Sorry, while you were saying this, I decided to Google what is the Bitcoin price right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it is showing me results in Bangla.
Fascinating. Are you signed in? Have you been listening to Coke Studio Bangla?
I'm dating a bonk. Does that count?
No comment. There is a wonderful Coke Studio Bangla song called Muriritin. It's about a journey on a state roadways bus. It has subtitles. It's fabulous. Link it in the show notes. It's a wonderful, wonderful song.
Yes,
Really nice. Yeah, it's in Bangla and I know the song, so that's how many times I've listened to it. It's really nice. There you go, an offhand recommendation. But back to my point, interesting times. These guys played the dot-com crash, the global financial crisis, all of that. They were on the right side of it both times. And Lee Ka-shing famously sold the fifth tallest skyscraper in Hong Kong just before the trouble started, and Hong Kong was no longer considered one of the financial centers of the world as it is now. So he sold right at the top at some $5 odd billion, and then those buyers had to refinance or something like that. Basically, they got the short end of the stick. It's fascinating that these guys are in cash now.
So I would say my takeaway is that we are all very similar, right? When we're humans, like he's hoarding cash. While you were Googling, I checked. I have 180 rupees in my wallet. He sold two ports. I sold an old camera lens for 8,000 rupees. I sold a Zoom recorder that I was trying to use but couldn't figure it out on OLX for like 8,500 rupees. We're all essentially the same, aren't we?
Yeah, it's few zeros here or there, but basically the same.
Like humans.
Yeah.
I connect with Mr. Buffett.
It's really cool. Both these guys are nearing 100, and they've been doing this a long, long time. They've been good at it a long, long time. They've never gone bust. never made a big enough mistake that it would permanently be a part of their legacy. I know that paradigm shift, and sooner or later, every investor loses relevance. But I wouldn't bet on these two guys getting it wrong this late in the game. It's not a satisfying ending.
But do you think this is them just withdrawing from the markets because of the range? Or do you think
No.
this is obviously they're seeing the market signs, right? It's not like they
It's just
finance their
no. And both of them, at least for PR purposes, have always led very austere lives. So it's not that. It was purely, at least in Buffett's case, I can say this with confidence, love of the game. When you have that, you tend to play your best hand until it's time to go. And they're both doing that, I think.
So this is obviously not investment advice or disinvestment advice, but they see turbulence.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. No, I'm not saying invest with them or you hold cash. I'm just saying it's interesting and curious that
I don't know their cash, I don't mind.
yeah, that's it. That's my story. Interesting times ahead. That's all.
Story number 2. There's been a bunch of activity happening on the antitrust front, both in India and the US, around Google, also around Apple. In the US, it was very deep. There's a bunch of stuff happening against Google. Google in November, so this was a case going on for years. Google is a monopoly in search. They are about 93% of the search market. And still they don't know that I don't speak Bangla. They have been asked in November to basically sell off Chrome. So some people are wondering, like, what's the link? If they are a search monopoly, how will selling off Chrome help? But that was one of the ways offered for them to save off further, like a full breakup of the company. In India, so both Apple and Google have been facing a lot of action or facing a lot of heat for their App Store fees. So both of them are effectively, they're charging 30% in the credit card fees. They got a lot of negative PR and they both offered some sort of SME discounts. So in India, it ranges from 10% to 30% now, the Google Play Store fees, but mostly on the higher end. A lot of people have obviously complained about it. What are they doing to earn this? Now, one of their defenses has always been that we're not a monopoly, right, on the Play Store or App Store. Google says you can always choose to go to Apple. You can buy one. Apple says you can always buy Android. So therefore, we are not a monopoly, which is a bit of a specious argument. It's convenient for them, but right, I have to buy a phone. Once I have bought a phone, I am locked in. I can't choose to have the Apple App Store on my Android phone. So effectively, it's like two of them setting the price and sticking there. So the Competition Commission of India had earlier passed a judgment that the Play Store is absolutely a monopoly. It fined Google in 2022 936 crores for abusing its dominant position. It also issued a cease and desist order to stop doing this. Google obviously appealed. So this went to the NCLAT. Is it called the NCLAT, NCLAT, NCLAT? How are things pronounced?
That's the Appellate Tribunal. Yeah, NCLAT.
So yes, this went in for appeal, and now 2.5 years later, they have reduced the fine to 216 crores. And the full judgment is awaited, but they are saying that they have concurred that Google is abusing its dominant position. They absolutely do need to lay off, and they do need to allow third-party services, and they need to allow apps to be able to choose what payment provider to use. Now, the startups and app companies are complaining that in parallel. There's another case going on that even when Google says that it's allowing them to use different Play Stores, it still sets its fees. It says, okay, for example, you use this third-party payment provider, we'll reduce our fees by like 4%. But effectively, that 6 to 26% tax still remains. This is basically one big judgment. Now, let's see. This is very interesting. This case hasn't gotten to a logical conclusion yet in the US. Epic Games had brought this case against Apple many years ago.
Right.
Epic Games had also brought this case against Google many years ago. There's a bunch of appeals going on. Apple won the case. Google lost the case. It's under appeal right now. And it's very interesting because they're forced to allow apps to choose their own payment providers. Effectively, this without being able to find a loophole, this, we'll just subtract 4% and charge you the rest. That's a big switch to the payment model. It could signal a big shift.
The macro headwinds are not in favor of antitrust regulation. But they're not. Setting Chrome is not going to happen. It's not.
Let's see what does happen. See, there is also Europe. While the US had Lina Khan was different, but Europe is still fairly trying to restrain these people.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the US headwinds might increase the pressure on Europe to actually do something because the US kuch karne nahi wala.
right. And they actually pulled it off. iPhones now have USB-C ports, which Apple is touting as a feature, but they were interested into doing it by the EU. So
Is it
yes,
courage?
fair point.
We have the courage to remove.
It took courage to hire lawyers and fight EU.
You sell the dinky cables.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting point. I'll wait to see where the European Commission lands
But
on.
by the way, one interesting side note on interoperability, and this is a big win, I would say. $20 microfiber cloths that Apple sold for with its big monitors is also compatible with the newest iPads. They have updated this on their website, which is quite amazing. How is that for backwards compatibility?
At this point, they're aware that it's a meme, right? And so they've decided to go along with it. I appreciate that. It's nice to see corporations have a sense of humor sometimes.
While still stiffing us, but yeah, at least they're having fun.
The lashings will always continue till morale improves, but some humor in the lashings, yeah, that's nice. It's fun, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, but
And
exactly.
is iMessage now working on Android phones as well? No,
Yeah, so what they changed last year was that it will work on Android, but won't be encrypted end to end. Now they've said that, I think last month they announced that coming soon it will also be encrypted. Let's still keep the green and blue bubbles, I'm guessing. The
caste system.
to show everything, car systems. ये Android वाला है. Everyone in the group, please judge him and bully him.
Do you think, given enough time, it could be a viable competitor to WhatsApp? To the absolute dominion that WhatsApp has over chats now, at least in India and much of the world. Is it possible?
No, I don't think so. India is absolutely an Android market. And iMessage will never be Android first, right? Why would an Android user, unless forced into it, download iMessage?
Right.
And and India is not even an SMS market at all. There's no SMS, there's no MMS. SMS is now just OTP spam.
Right.
When was the last time you sent an SMS? Beyond maybe I'll call you later.
Has Android enabled voicemail since you're on it? Are people using it actually?
I got a voicemail message. Like I called someone, it got cut, and this message is, that happened.
They're probably an iPhone user. iPhone has enabled this, and I'm seeing people actually use voicemails in India. Nobody thought anybody.
I hate voice notes.
No, these aren't voice notes. You call somebody and they don't answer, or they send you to voicemail. And people are leaving messages like they did on answering machines, because we never had those, right? We never had answering machines. We bypassed that whole thing because there are so many of us that there's always somebody at home. But anyways, I'm seeing people use voicemail as intended on
A lot of people are very verbose, which is a very funny thing to say on a podcast, which is already now 56 minutes in. So I'm not a fan of anything that encourages more voice messages, whether it's voicemail or voice notes on WhatsApp.
No, I'm pleasantly surprised by this. So what I do now is that any call from an unknown number goes to voicemail, and then I'll listen to them.
You don't take calls from unknown numbers?
No.
What if there's this fantastic property that you could buy, or a farmhouse in Hebal?
Counterpoint, what if it is an impending digital arrest?
I've had a few of those. Calls. I have. Like my passport is living a very exciting life.
Which is more than I could say for you.
My passport apparently has been traveling to Burma, has been traveling to Thailand, has been caught for drugs. I am something in Noida.
It's living the life you wish you were living.
Someday, if I have the time, I'd be like, "Kya, मुझे भी साथ भेज दो."
Yeah. So that's that. My third and final story is just Mr. Uday Kotak saying that banks are lending out money at lower rates of interest than they are borrowing. And that is not good business practice to sell things for less than what you bought them for.
Maybe the banks will grow in size and economies of scale will hit, and then they will make money on it. The Uber model, right? Maybe the learning trend startup.
Fuck unit economics.
Maybe it's the Blinkit model applying now to which banks are these? Like HDFC, ICICI also. All banks. Which
All that he's saying across the spectrum because it's a competitive market, right? And traditionally, a large source of deposits for these banks was money in savings accounts, and now most of that is in either high yield FDs, sweep out from these banks themselves, or in the market, in capital markets. And so people are like 3-4% savings account. What peanuts is this? I'm not going to keep my money here. I'll keep it in money market funds. If I do, we're getting more financially savvy, and so banks have lost their cheapest source of funding, which is public money. So it's interesting. Something will have to give. Either loan rates will have to increase, or
do you think this is like a strategic decision, or is just happening because the loan team is different? Their job is to give out loans, and the savings team is different, and suddenly, the saving rates are depleting over the last 1 year or something. In different teams, bureaucracies within banks, or do you think it's like a strategic decision that, okay, we need to keep the loans going, so even if we borrow it more, like, is it one board deciding these things, or it's just happening because multiple teams and
I can't believe we reached this point organically, but an Indian bank has had a very bad couple of weeks for precisely this problem. One part of the bank had foreign exchange exposure, and so they hedged that with derivatives, and the treasury had to offset that, and basically very intricate financial shenanigans. End result of which was that they were recognizing profits immediately and deferring losses. And finally, those chickens came home to roost in the last
with licious,
yeah in the last sorry I didn't get that.
with licious, those chickens came home to roost.
Licious, good call.
Order.
And suddenly they realized that our capital controls and our treasury operations are not as awesome as we thought. It's India, and who knows? Pretty soon it might be the US. So चलता है हम par for the course.
Meanwhile, I'm like running a startup, right? And credit is so hard to find. Like, where are these loans going? De do, yeah, please. There are credit guarantee schemes. There's everything, but koi loan de do, please. Like, working capital is so hard to find. And apparently, the RBI has been tracking down. So, so these are conversations I had this week. Invoice discounting, invoice factoring. Apparently, the RBI has stepped in and told banks to stop doing it for most companies, young or old. So, where is this credit even going? Or is it all home loans and stuff? I'm not even asking you for an answer. This is just a rhetorical question because
A big chunk of it is going to modern day loan sharks, or as they're now called, private credit.
which is, I'm guessing, the 22 to 25% market.
Yeah, it can go that high. Yes.
Like unsecured loan, if I speak to anyone for my startup, they start at like 17 and a half, go up to 25, 26. I've even heard some 30s, and I'm like, bhai, you talk to those MDMA and passport scammers. मुझसे बात मत करो. Bye bye. So yeah, where are these low cost loans going? Home loans, I guess. Credit cards are like now if I'm hunting around for a new credit card because my Vistara credit card suddenly completely died, devalued. 52, 53, 54% is now what they're offering. Like the APR. That's mad. 54% interest plus fees.
There was a news item about how much of credit card debt is suspect now, may never be recovered.
And on that note, we shall see you next week. Any closing notes, Nitesh?
use your editing scissors liberally this week.
Yes, and send me that Bangla song.
Yeah, I've already looked it up. I'll send it to you right away.
See you everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.